If it wasn't obvious already, this video will be laced with potential Xenoblade 3 story spoilers. If you're trying to go into the game blind, then I recommend clicking off this video right now. But if you want to learn more about the people and world of Aionios, then strap in and enjoy this wild ride down the passage of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So let's start at the beginning. Xenoblade 3 will begin with both parties being sent to Melna's shoulder to complete a special mission. According to the JP website, this mission was to destroy a mysterious object that emits a powerful energy. When arriving at the location, however, the two groups come into contact and the first battle scene begins, until Vandam interrupts the fight. Shortly afterwards, Wild Ride shows up and beats the party senseless, possibly injuring Vandam in the process. As it turns out, Vandam was the one in possession of the device, and he activates it during the fight, at which point the party will likely merge together and Noah and Mio's first Ouroboros transformation takes place. This is then followed with Wild Ride getting the ever-loving shit kicked out of him before he flees and makes his escape. Thankful for saving their lives, the party approaches Vandam as he begins monologuing about SwordMarch, and taking his advice, the party will then head in the sword's direction, which will commence the start of the game. The goal which the party are aiming for appears to be reaching a city that is located near the sword. Vandam is supposedly from this place, and they would provide the party with a safe refuge from the Consul and the two nations who are trying to hunt them down. And this is where some of the parallels between Xenogears and Xenoblade 3 start to appear. The concept of this city is very reminiscent of Shivat, a floating city that can occasionally be found atop the Tower of Babel, which was a tall structure much like the Mechonis' sword. Leading this civilization was a short woman known as Queen Zephyr, who frankly was a badass. Xenoblade 3 also appears to have its own version of this character through the pint-sized Aussie who Sucker Punches lands. She looks to me like she's the leader of this group of people, looking after them and possibly even protecting them from outside threats. It also appears that the people here will be referred to as the Lost Numbers by the people of Kivas and Agnes, judging from this voice line.
The Lost Numbers are attacking!
I believe that every soldier in Aionios has a number like this, and the lost ones are those who fled from battle or are unaccounted for, and unsurprisingly, the people of Shivat, known as lambs, were also numbered in gears. The reason people have numbers in the first place, however, is rather interesting, as it appears that every soldier in Aionios is and was artificially created. We don't know exactly how these people are made yet, but judging from this scene, they are most likely clones of others who are held in stasis. This is very reminiscent of Xenoblade X, actually. You thought I was going to say Gears again, didn't you? These types of pods were used in some of the Ark ships to transfer the people while they searched for another inhabitable planet. From the looks of it, however, these pods are stored within the flying cities, or what may be referred to as castles, for each nation. Turns out that this device that Melia and Nia were standing in front of appears to be the central terminal for the cloning system, which also means that both queens are aware of the process, if that wasn't obvious already. Pods can also be seen behind Ethel in this scene, as the castle fires its laser, but I do not believe that means the leaders of each colony will know about this process, and that she's here for a completely different reason. The cloning does kind of explain how each of the party members can be the same ages and be physically the same as one another, despite being from different races who should age differently. Each of them are likely created with the tattoo implanted on their body, limiting their age to a maximum of 10 years, and possibly even being the reason that their life can get absorbed into the flame clocks. Speaking of which, we were able to learn a lot more about these devices strapped onto literally everything. They have the ability to absorb the life out of the deceased and the living, and are likely the power sources for everything in Aionios. This likely ties into why people are being cloned in the first place, as the only visible energy source within Aionios appears to be life energy. There may also be an energy shortage in the world, as many times through the direct, we can see flame clocks which are extremely low on power. This could explain the extremities that Kivas and Agnes have had to go to quite literally keep the lights on. Of course, in most cases, this energy is used for the good of the people, presumably providing them with food, energy, and shelter. But in some unfortunate cases, there are those who would wish to use its power for their own selfish gain. These people are known as the Consul, and they are easy to recognize thanks to them being coated in bright red armor armor from head to toe. On the surface, the consul are known as messengers for the colonies, who deliver the orders from the queens of each nation, but neither nation's colonies knew that the consul were working for both sides. From what we've seen so far, I have managed to count 13 different consuls, with 9 being shown in this scene alone. We can see the remnants of the particle effect when the consul are leaving the room on either side, and can even make out 2 different people on the left hand side on a different frame. An additional 3 can be spotted at the end of the trailer, including this guy who we're going to talk about in a little bit, but the final one was shown a little later in the direct. We see him twice, once standing upon Colony 9's Pharaonis as it absorbs flames, and the other when Xeon is attacking him. Interestingly, we also catch a glimpse of him in this shot, just standing here as we presumably destroy the flame clock on the colony, which screams Graph vibes to me. There was likely more that we didn't see, but from what I can tell, each consul appears to be assigned to a specific colony. We always see the same consul member at the exact same colony, and this would explain how they kept the fact that they were working for both sides a secret. Each consul member is also named with a single letter, which is likely a shortened version of their real name. And no, I'm not going to talk about L being the only other character to have a name like this, because that's a whole separate video on its own. Each of the consuls do have some mysterious powers as well, with the main one being that they can transform into a form known as Mobius, which appears to be the equivalent to our Ouroboros power. These forms come in many different shapes and sizes, and seem to share traits with the Ouroboros, such as the Agnes variant being a whitish colour. What is different, however, is that it does not appear that the form is limited to only being usable with 2 people, as Colony 4's consul member does a full transformation without anyone around him. It seems as if they have the ability to transform on their own, providing they receive energy from the colony's flame clock, as is shown from this clip.
These soldiers will nourish me, and we can always grow plenty more.
This makes it sound as if the life energy is empowering him and allowing him to maintain that state, whilst the latter half of the clip is even more evidence that people are artificial. This may also be the reason that the party is going around destroying the flame clocks, not only to disable the Pharaonis and prevent it from fighting, but also to stop the consul members from siphoning the power for themselves. I also mentioned before that the flame clocks can absorb the life of living people, which was shown during this scene, although it does appear that they may need to be marked by the consul, as the party wasn't affected, and that seems like a much more efficient way to off them. The last shown ability they possess is also the power to hypnotize people. This was famously shown on Ethel in the last trailer, but judging by these soldiers' red eyes, it appears that anyone can be affected. It looks to be as simple as the consul member activating the infinity symbol with their eye and looking at the recipient, but there may be more to it that we haven't seen yet. The power is rather scary though, as it may pierce into their very soul. Both Kamuravi and Ethel can be seen fighting within their mechs in this scene, but their flame clocks are this weird purple colour. You can see the same thing on this mechon as well, once again suggesting that this power can affect anybody. The extent of this power has not been seen yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it progresses to total control of a person. But fortunately, it does appear as if the party will save at least Ethel from this power, meaning it isn't permanent. The identity of the consul members is also still a mystery, but I do have a good idea on who some of them may be. The most obvious member to me is this guy, who is quite obviously this kid from Colony 9, who later tragically dies after presumably someone crashed the mobile artillery into a house. Similarly, a consul member is likely someone from Colony Gamma who dies for some reason. When Mio and Noah interlink for the first time, we can see new updated images of a new girl in Mio's memories, who appears to be an Offseer. I would guess that this is the member we see with the fat one, as it makes sense that they would be together and that their big reveal will be a big deal to the party, or more specifically, Noah and Mio. The other member that's kind of obvious is this guy. If you can't tell at first glance, this is Noah, or at least it's another version of Noah. His official name, however, is N, as is what was discovered in the files of the JP website. Unsurprisingly, Xenogears did practically the same thing, with Faye's dad, who is actually Faye, who is also a Graph but a different version of Faye, being all separate people at the same time. Yes, I know Xenogears is confusing. It's unclear as to why N would join the Consul in the first place, but who could honestly blame him? If the Consul offered me a cool, dark, edgy sword, do you think I could refuse? As for the other members, it's a bit more unclear, but like N, I would guess that some of them are older or original versions of the party, with this one being Uni, for example. Oh, and did I mention that they're basically like the Gazal Ministry from Gears as well? That's about everything we know that's concrete so far, but I have a few other ideas of my own. For instance, I don't believe that Melia and Nia are inherently evil for doing this. I speculate that there may be the original civilizations of Xenoblade 1 and 2 still in this new universe, except they lack a power source now that ether from the conduit has dried up. This is why Melia and Nia would agree to a plan like this, and would orchestrate an infinite war, where the lives of all those they created power this separate world. The Consul members then use this power for their own gain, but this may be as simple as giving themselves immortality, and all this is unknown to both Melia and Nia. The Consul, however, still are not the real enemy, as that role will belong to the Cracked Face Man. He will have a goal much larger than the others, which will be something along the lines of becoming a divine being or coming into contact and using the conduit for himself. I also think that he may be the one responsible for the Fog King and Beasts in Future Connected, but that is something we'll have to wait to see in Xenogears HD Remake, I mean Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But with all that out of the way, I appreciate you all for watching this far into the video. Big thanks to LXGK also for much of the Xenogears info and references. This video wouldn't have been possible without him, so make sure to follow him on Twitter and subscribe to him on YouTube to get him over that 4K subs hurdle. Links are in the description, and whilst you're there, follow Tindia, I guess. If you found this video insightful and want to stay up to date with all the latest Xenoblade 3 news, then make sure to click that sub button and notification bell to never miss out once I upload. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next video, guys. Peace.